Welcome to the NSOP podcast. This week, episode number 18. As usual, me, Josh, joined by Henry and Connor. Chris can't make it this week, though, as we always do. Connor, why don't you take us through last week's In the Slot Buster?
Absolutely. So just to everyone who's brand new listeners this week and you are tuning in for the first time, we play this game every week called In the Slot Busters, which kind of takes the guys and everyone listening through a short cryptic clue, which details out a player who's involved in the NFL. They could be in college, a commentator, ex-pro, current pro, whoever it might be. Just a quick game for everyone to guess who the player that I'm describing is within the cryptic clue. So last week I gave the guys a clue, which was you may see me fighting a dragon, or you may see me with the entire team's jersey. So over to you guys. What did you think? I know you struggled.
Yeah, this was definitely a tougher one. I think I was on a streak of quite a few weeks in a row getting it, but I don't even have a player to guess this week. You stumped me, Connor. The line I was trying to go down was fighting a dragon. I was thinking of maybe like St. George fighting a dragon, I think. So I was trying to think of a George player, but didn't get any further than that. Maybe I'm close with that, but who knows? Josh, what did you get?
Yeah, I also went down the fighting with a dragon line initially, and similarly came to George. I thought of George Fant, but I don't know how that relates to the second half of the clue. Then I was trying to think of other characters that fight with dragons. You got Beowulf. I have no idea who that would ever be in the NFL. You got, I guess, Arthur Pendragon. Couldn't think of anyone named Arthur, like an Arthur Motes or Arthur Jones. But again, what do they have to do with the second part? So then I tried to reverse it back and was like, well, what is on everyone's jersey? Could be a logo, but nothing there. Fairy or Persil washing up liquids, nothing there. But one thing I did realize is so many NFL players seem to love Dragon Ball Z. So then I just got sidetracked by that. I knew Juju Smith-Schuster is a big fan of Dragon Ball Z, and I know his surname is probably big enough that he could take up an entire team's jersey. So Juju Smith-Schuster was going to be my guess for a very obscure reason.
I mean, I like where it's taken you. And listen out, fans. This is where it kind of takes its toll too, is that the guests can go as far and wide as possible. So don't feel ashamed to get your guesses in. We're still awaiting a guess, but do be sure to chuck one in if you think you've got any closer than the guys have. But can confirm you're on the exact right line with George. George is correct. So George and the Dragon was exactly the right line. And then this is the bit where you're probably gonna either hate me or be like, how did I not get it? So with the part of the entire team's jersey, that was kit. And entire was all. So George Kittle.
Very good.
This week's clue. A little bit of a change up of it. It doesn't always have to be in chronological order. That's the thing with the guest. This week's clue will also be a very different way of approaching how the clue is done. So they're not always the same each week, which might have stumped the guys, but we'll change it up each week, and I love hearing the guesses. So back to you. Or unless you have any thoughts on Kittle being just completely outrageous and
I just have to remember each time when I'm going through the clue to put on Connor's accent, and then maybe that would help. Obviously, I call him Kittle rather than Kittle, so I wouldn't have made that leap.
I mean, you don't need to say it. It's just Kittle. Find a way to break it in, put it together, Kittle.
I'm still happy with Juju. Well, if we've left it at that, we will come back to Connor. Let's hope he's got a more feasible one this week. That's only me being bitter because I couldn't guess it.
You were so close.
Yeah. Well, we knew George. We just forgot that George Kittle existed. I don't know about you, Henry, but I completely forgot George Kittle was a player.
Didn't cross my mind. Yeah. One of the best players in the NFL.
Yeah. All I was thinking of was
on us, I think.
Yeah. All I was thinking of was a swing tackle who plays in 6-man offensive line sets. But yeah, obviously, what's been going on in the NFL this week is free agency. You know, we're full in the swing of it. Some big winners so far. I kind of want to touch on that. Where do the teams sit? Obviously, everyone's been raving about the Buccaneers retaining so much of their talent, which is incredible following a Super Bowl win. Patriots have signed everyone. 2 tight ends already, a whole group of defensive players, 2 wide receivers as well. Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne, I think both have been great pickups. So obviously they're kind of the 2 early front runners as winners. I also think the 49ers, who picked up Trent Williams, offensive tackle, and Alex Mack center, have obviously made a specific push towards their roster. Henry, I know you were particularly impressed with what the Cards did, right?
Yeah, I've really liked some of the Cards pickups, particularly today. Today they've made the move to get AJ Green and then also a late round pick trade for Rodney Hudson at center. And I just think you get the sense from dealings with a franchise over a few years, whether they get it or not, they get what's important. And I just feel the Cards do get it. Ever since they had Josh Rosen, they picked Kyler Murray. That's such a smart move if you believe in Murray. And then the additions that you've seen this season, I mean, even before they've drafted receivers, they've now brought in, so they're 3-4 receivers deep, picking up JJ Watt, retaining Chandler Jones. I think it's a great offseason for the Cardinals. And, in a very tough division, I think they're making really nice moves to be competing at the top of the NFC now.
Yeah, and another thing the Cardinals did, which is in the other direction, but they didn't heavily pursue a running back, at least yet. Kenyon Drake obviously left. We'll see what they do there. But yeah, it seems like they've got a very specific goal in mind. We're worried, does the NFL or has the NFL started to undervalue offensive line talent? We saw the Chiefs cut 2 tackles. One of my favorite pickups is Joe Thuney, the offensive guard for them from the Pats. So it's a clear shift towards offensive line, which we weren't necessarily expecting to see. Connor, from your perspective, is there any front runner for like a winning team at this point in the free agency point?
No, I actually really agree with, I suppose, the where the main conversations are sat being obviously great off season and great faith from the Bucks to go and do it again. I think that's really clear that the organization obviously really appreciate the team that they had and then what they can do with that again, and making such huge signings again for that. There was actually quite a funny tweet that went out during the week just because of all of the moves that the Pats made, was that Rome wasn't built in a day, but the Pats Super Bowl run may just have been, because literally they just went absolutely off on one. Not sure if that's actually going to be a viable event, but who knows. I think for me, one thing that stands out massively though, which I really liked, was Fitz to Washington. As much as I hate to see it in our division, I think that's fantastic for them. Needed that sort of like veteran style quarterback, someone who's obviously got huge potential still and is still going to go in and smash it. And to replace Alex Smith, obviously with Fitz, is a great, I suppose, moving forward for Washington for them wherever they go, and how that now impacts them in the draft.
Yeah, thanks, Connor. I mean, we probably initially planned, after a kind of overview of where the free agents are sat, to go back and take a look at this week's in the Slotbuster, but I'm thinking let's touch on it straight away, and let's just say who we think our favorite moves have been so far. I've got a long list, and obviously number one on my list, as I'm sure everyone's, is the Chicago Bears picking up Andy Dalton. An incredible move for a quarterback. Definitely not. Right? No chance. What a horrible move that was, right, Henry? That's probably one of the worst transactions we've seen recently.
I don't know. I don't know. Dalton played really well last year. I think he'll make people eat their words a little bit. I think 10 million for Dalton in this QB market is not outrageous. Of course, it is soul destroying for a Bears franchise that Jay Cutler's been the highlight of the last 15 years. Like, that's tough. I've seen the Packers destroy the Bears for 15 years, and they were hoping to land land Russ or Deshaun Watson, and that's not going to happen now. A few weeks ago, I said to Connor, what would you rather? I said, is Dak 30 million a year better than Dalton? And that's literally what happened. Dak got 40 million, Dalton got 10. And I think, if you're looking at those two, there's no doubt who's undervalued of those two. Dalton is undervalued if you're going to look at those two contracts. But yeah, it's tough to get excited about for the Bears, I think. I think he's better than 10 million, but is he going to lead you to the playoffs? Is he going to win a playoff game?
Yeah, is he
You've
the
got to
change?
think no.
I think it's just another Cowboys season for them. Like what Dalton did wasn't groundbreaking. It wasn't a winning seat. Like, it wasn't fantastic. It was just okay, right? And for 10 million, it's just okay. I think that's the general look of it as well, is that he's obviously great. He'll hopefully be better than the last few years for them, but it's between like a rock and a hard place. And is it just the stepping stone to the next big thing? It's just I feel it's their year between, isn't it? It's just,
I think so, yeah. I mean, they're not going to get one of the big quarterbacks now in a trade, and sitting where they are in the draft, they're probably not going to get one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the draft either. So they had to go something. They couldn't roll out Mitch for another year, surely. So at least they've got something. But I don't know how Bears fans feel about it. I've got to imagine they're pretty crushed.
They're the whipping boys of the NFL. There's no short way about it. They're literally stuck in Bengals of old purgatory, not being bad enough to get the quarterback you need to be good enough, and not being good enough to actually achieve anything with it. It came out, the Seahawks absolutely destroyed them in that whole debacle. They've been sat there thinking they could get Russ. Apparently a trade package, 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and 2 starting players came in, and they just said, well, obviously we were never going to trade him. And there are the Bears sat looking silly, now pursuing Andy Dalton, and not much to hope for in the draft. It's not been a good season for them. But all right, okay, fair enough. I wasn't expecting anyone to support Andy Dalton at all, so that turned into more of a discussion than I thought. But I'm actually going to go with who I think the best free agent signing for me is. This one may not be a popular opinion. I actually think what the Miami Dolphins did when they snagged Justin Coleman, slot cornerback from previously from Detroit Lions last year, on a 1-year, $2.75 million deal, was daylight robbery. In my opinion, one of the top 5 slot cornerbacks in the league, and the position which they desperately needed. They've got their 2 cornerbacks sorted, Byron Jones and Howard. Now they've completed that trio, and a slot cornerback is a starting cornerback in this league. That's incredible value, right, Henry?
Yeah, that was on my list as well, Josh. I think that's absolutely fantastic deal. I have no idea who or what kind of representation Justin Coleman's got, but he needs to get someone else, because that deal is dreadful for him. I mean, even Mike Hilton, who you would think is a fairly comparable player, the Bengals signed 4 years, 24 million. I'm probably thinking I'm taking Coleman over Hilton. So I don't know what is going on there, but yeah, fantastic deal for the Dolphins, and they have one of the most complete rosters in the NFL. They're just looking for that quarterback, and I think they can compete.
Yeah, absolutely. And who knows, maybe it is Tua this year. But I already mentioned, I love Joe Thuney, pick up from the Chiefs. Nice to secure a long-term deal, 5 years, 80 million for him. Another big one, obviously, it probably hurts you the most to hear me say it, Henry, but the Chargers getting Corey Linsley at probably what seems like a cheap price in reality compared to what you paid Aaron Jones. I mean, 5 years, 62.5 million. I know centers are more abundant within the NFL, but that's a great deal for the Chargers and Justin Herbert, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the key there is for Justin Herbert. Like, for the rest of his rookie deal and his 5th-year option, he's going to have the same player snapping the ball to him. And I think it's an all-pro player. It's such a good deal. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, you're rubbing it in already, Josh. But I've said this to you guys already. I would have rather kept Linsley than Jones. And then it turns out that actually Linsley did cost less than Aaron Jones overall as well. So, yeah, for a Packers perspective, I'm disappointed to see him go. He was very good, particularly the last year, but also for the previous 2 or 3. So, I think that's a real step forward for the Chargers. Yeah, I do like that for them.
Yeah, and hopefully they can address one more line spot, and they'll be pretty much set next year. The final person I want to talk about, who I also believe is probably on your list, Henry. We spoke about him when we were talking about Pro Bowl potential snubs. William Jackson III, cornerback from the Bengals, signed with Washington football team. I would argue an even better pickup than Fitzmagic, who I agree with Connor is a great pickup. But William Jackson III, 3 years, 42 million. That's less than it costs to sign Shaquille Griffin. I mean, that is ridiculous, isn't it?
It's a great pickup. Love the pickup. I think Washington's had a great offseason there. They've got better at quarterback. They've got better at corner, and they've taken care of their own business as well. I fully expect them to have a top 5 defense next year. I think that's almost the floor for them, and I think they'll be exciting with Fitzmagic. Certainly a lot more exciting on offense than last year. I think they can win that division, which maybe doesn't say a lot, but I think they can win that division. And I really do wish them the best. I think Ron Rivera is a very good coach, and they'll win a lot of games with that setup, I think.
Yeah, and turning Ronald Darby into William Jackson III is an upgrade, but you don't lose too much as well. I think that's a really good point for them. There's a couple more on my list, but before I go through them, is there anyone either of you guys want to chuck over into the mix?
I've got a couple, and I've actually got 3 receivers, which as a Packers fan is very frustrating because the receiver market has been fairly soft. Like there hasn't been a massive deal for Golladay, 20 million a year or anything like that. I really like the Raiders picking up John Brown. It's 3.75 million, max 5.5. I think that's an incredible deal. Would have loved to see him on the Packers for that deal. I really like what the Jags have done so far, and I think if I had to pick one deal that is my favorite, it might be Marvin Jones. 7 million for Marvin Jones seems ridiculous. His floor is going to be a really solid number 2 option for Trevor Lawrence. Minimum 800 yards, you'd think. So I think that was a fantastic deal. And then I also really like the Jets getting Corey Davis. I think that was a really nice pickup. And again, slightly more expensive, 3 years, 37 million. But for what you're getting with Corey Davis, I think that's very, very reasonable. To put it into perspective, it's cheaper than Aaron Jones's per year market. Obviously, I love Aaron Jones, brilliant player for us for the last 4 years, but the value of a Corey Davis compared to an Aaron Jones is undeniable. So I like that move for whoever's going to be the Jets. And last one, Emmanuel Sanders to the Bills. Thought that was really nice, replacing John Brown. But again, not very expensive. I think that's about 5 to 7 million as well. Emmanuel Sanders has picked his teams well throughout his year. He's had Peyton Manning on the Broncos, Drew Brees on the Saints, and now Josh Allen on the Bills. So he knows how to pick a quarterback.
Yeah. Josh Allen is like so excited now as well, isn't he? Like looking at that, is like he's got Diggs, Sanders, and Cole Beasley, who like
Gabriel Davis, Dawson Knox, yeah, really
honestly,
great weapons.
They're going to be sat there just like this is going to be our year.
Yeah, seen some chinks in the Chiefs' armor at the Super Bowl as well. Things are looking good for the Bills. I also would add 2 other wide receivers. I mentioned them. The Patriots picked up some good receivers. I mean, Nelson Aguilar deal's a bit expensive for me, but I think he brings a lot to the table. And Kendrick Bourne, 3 years, 22.5 million. If he continues the way which he showed he could play last season, it would be incredible, but you pay a lot for uncertainty there.
I think. Sorry, Josh.
Yeah, no, please.
Yeah, I think on the 4 pass catches that the Patriots signed, so the 2 receivers you just mentioned, then Hunter Henry and Johnny Smith, I do feel like they've overpaid for those particular players and with the rest of the market. I'm not a huge Hunter Henry fan. I think he hasn't lived up to his high pick status, and obviously the injuries haven't helped that. I like Aguilar as a player, but I think 13 mil a year compared to the players I've just listed does sound quite a lot. Johnny Smith's probably my favorite of the four. But yeah, if I'm honest, I think the Patriots probably have overspent, and I'm not sure they have the rest of the roster to actually compete, because clearly by signing these players, they think they can compete next year. So let's see. But they're not one of my favorite teams so far.
Yeah, the Patriots almost feel like they've cracked that spell where you've got a rookie quarterback and you've got him on a cheap deal and you can overpay for other assets. And it almost feels as if they think they've got that with Cam Newton, which I don't think anyone else feels like they do. But yeah, I mean, let's see how they pan out. They could be good. They could be terrible value. I'm sure there'll be potential cap casualties for the next few years to come. Back to the defensive side of the ball. I think Minnesota Vikings getting Darvin Tomlinson was an incredible pickup for great value. I mean, he is a nose tackle. He doesn't bring as much to the pass rush, so typically they don't earn as much. But 2 years, 22 million seemed very reasonable to me for him. And Yannick Ngakoue, two winners in that deal. Obviously, the Raiders win by signing him. 2 years, 26 million. I mean, 13 million a year for that top premier pass rush is an incredible value in my opinion. But also another winner is Ngakoue, who now gets to test free agency again while he's still in his prime. So yeah, I think overall it's been a very exciting period, and it's evident that players, agents and teams are more aware of the value and where it sits. Sorry, Henrika, please.
Yeah, I like those two that you brought up there. And a few weeks ago on our franchise tag episode, we were debating the Giants choosing Leonard Williams or Darvin Tomlinson for the franchise tag. And it ended up that Leonard Williams has got more than double per year what Darvin Tomlinson's has ended up getting. So yeah, I completely agree. If I could have Tomlinson at half the price of Leonard Williams, I'm going for that one. Yeah, because I think Leonard Williams ended up his contract's close to 22 million a year, which is like Aaron Donald kind of money, which is a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 3 years, 63 million, which is crazy money. I mean, I do think he's worth it, but Aaron Donald level money, when you equate it to that, it's tough, isn't it? And salary cap went down this year. But yeah, Connor, why don't you take us through this week's In the Slotbuster?
Absolutely. So like I said, I have changed it a little bit just to keep everyone on their toes, because I know a lot of the guesses were kind of going down the same route, and we're a good 17 game shows into in the Slotbusters. So this week's clue is High School Musical causes me too much pain. That's it. I'll say it one more time. High School Musical causes me too much pain. So for everyone who is listening, the guys spend all week painstakingly tearing this apart. And you saw how at the beginning of the pod, what the result of that was. So if you are listening, do make sure that if you think you know the clue, or if you want to have a guess, even if you don't think you know it, just get involved. We're always looking for people to share the interest that we all have, which is the NFL, and it is the players that we watch week in, week out, and that we love. So just make sure you get some guesses in. We'll make sure to shout you out on the pod as well. And we'll just go through what the guesses are, and there's no shame in getting it right or wrong. So feel free to get involved, whether you're on Twitter or on YouTube.
Yeah, bail us out this week. Someone help us out with an answer. My High School Musical knowledge is not particularly strong. We'll say that.
me and you both, Josh. I'm struggling here.
We'll see what happens there.
Have I just showcased a little bit too much of my love for High School Musical?
Well, at first I couldn't tell if it was a cryptic clue or if you were just leading us into what you were going to talk about with a statement which rung true to you. So yeah, probably that's where your knowledge sits compared to ours, Connor. We will come back to it. You will remind us again at the end of the episode. Do get your guesses in. Before that, though, we're just quickly going to take a look at some of the top remaining free agents. I just noted down a few. There's always so many. It's tough to see where the value sits. But Henry, you mentioned it. It's been a soft market for wide receivers getting paid. Salary cap has gone down this year. There's so many of them that have hit the market. We had so many notable names left. You already brought up Kenny Golladay. We got Will Fuller too, Antonio Brown, T.Y. Hilton, Curtis Samuel, Sammy Watkins. I mean, all of those players are a number 2 wide receiver, if not number 1, right, Henry?
Yeah, there's, like you said, Josh, you're exactly right. There's loads on the market. There was a great receiver draft last draft. So, multiple teams found their receivers. There's a great receiver draft this draft. So I think teams are hesitant to pay up for a receiver. I still think Golladay will get paid. I think he's a true one that you can rely on as an X receiver. So I think it would be a great pickup for the Giants if they can land it. Give Daniel Jones a true number 1 target. I would really like that fit for them. And I do expect him to still get 15 plus a year. From a Packers perspective, I've sort of just been thinking T.Y. Hilton in the second stage of free agency might be a really nice pickup for us. Maybe under 10 mil a year would be a really nice deal for T.Y. Hilton. I think that would be exciting. Have you got any fits of those receivers you like, Josh, or anyone that you think will go next?
The person who I'm probably the most interested to see what happens with them is Antonio Brown. Because he's done something which I don't think a lot of the NFL gave him credit that he could do, which is go into a team and not be the star receiver and not ruin that team. The Bucs still won a Super Bowl, and he was there, and he was an active contributor, but a part contributor. So I'd be interested to see which teams are now warming up on him. Happy to go for it. The other one for me is Sammy Watkins. I was a huge fan of him when he was getting drafted. He's been a career disappointment. Had some good spells with Kansas City, but I'd love to see him be picked up by a team where he does have the potential to actually grow into the receiving threat we know he could be. So yeah, little soft spot for Sammy Watkins in my heart. I could see someone like the Rams going for him, really giving him a place to play. If the Cardinals hadn't just picked up a load, then probably I would have said them too.
Yeah, really interesting. Did you have a couple of others for us to have a look at, Josh? Or I've got one person that I'm really interested in who's just been cut. Really surprised that Adoree Jackson just got cut. Don't know if he was on your list, Josh, but very highly graded by PFF when he hasn't been injured, but injured this past year. Titans seem to have replaced him with Janoris Jenkins, which is a very strange move in my opinion. But Adoree Jackson, former first-round pick, not the type of player that normally gets released. So he's one that I'm really intrigued to see where he goes now.
Yeah, and the thing with Adoree Jackson is you've got so much athletic upside. I think particularly look for teams who train up cornerbacks to make a play for him. And yeah, I agree. It was an interesting cut by the Titans, who basically demolished 3/4 of their defensive backcourt. I think only Kevin Byard was left. And yeah, I didn't actually list him, but yeah, it'd be very interesting to see where he ends up, and more importantly, what he gets paid. In my opinion, I was really kind of going to go down the line of edge rushers next. I think you've still got 2 in reality, which probably teams could be pining over: Jadeveon Clowney and Melvin Ingram. These are both kind of callbacks to 2 seasons ago. We snapped everyone's hand off for them. Now they're like the dredge left at the end of the barrel, right?
Yeah, it's going to be 1 year, 4 million with heavy sack incentives, isn't it? Both have had massive injury problems, but you're right. 3 years ago, these are like the leading sack getters in the NFL. So yeah, strangely, neither of them would make a fan excited these days, probably.
Yeah, I mean, Melvin Ingram shot himself in the foot big time, didn't he? He held out at the start of the year to try and get Joey Bosa money, managed to get his contract fully guaranteed, then got injured for like the last few games, and now, surprise, surprise, he's a free agent. It couldn't have gone worse for him. Then I had two cornerbacks. You know, there's quite a few cornerbacks still left there. Obviously, you mentioned Adoree Jackson, but I went down the aged veteran route. You've got Richard Sherman, who formed his own press release of why you should sign him with PFF numbers, and Patrick Peterson. Again, you know, rewind the clock 3-4 years, and you'd be so pleased to see them in free agency.
They were the top two. I remember
Yeah.
they were the best two cornerbacks a few years ago. And still, to be fair, I'd be much more excited about getting either of those than either of the edge rushers you listed. Sherman's still, you know, incredible for a guy of that size and speed to still be that elite is amazing. And I do have to give the 49ers a shout out. One of my other top sort of 5 signings was Jason Verrett on 5.5 million. Another first round corner who has had injury problems but played really, really well last year. I'm sure the Niners would love to have Sherman back as well, but I think that with that Trent Williams contract, that probably makes it a lot more difficult.
Yeah, you're basically one roll of a dice away with Jason Verrett, aren't you? It's injured or incredible. And then the final one, and this is the Seahawks part of me. I can't keep him. I know he's not going to stay, but KJ Wright, still a top level linebacker, but probably for one season. Where do you think he goes, Henry? If I had to put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, yeah, it is tricky. I'm trying to think who would desperately need them. I mean, I'm not sure what the Raiders' salary cap looks like now, but a coverage linebacker for the Raiders, I think, would be really useful. We've always been pegging them for edge rusher in the first round of the draft, but now with the Ngakoue signing, I think that's much less of a need. You know, with Kwity Paye was a very common draft there. I think linebacker's a possibility there. But O-line is big for them as well. But yeah, maybe a team like that. Packers are very obviously struggling at inside linebacker. We've currently got a 5th round and a 7th round second-year player starting. So maybe have a look there. Anyone you think it would fit well, Josh?
I would love the Dolphins. I think getting a vet like that on their team and help grow that defense just that one step further. But yeah, Cap becomes an issue there. I really don't know where he fits, to be honest. I think a lot of these players are going to be massively disappointed. Salary cap's down, not so much space for them anymore. But yeah, thanks, Henry. Connor, why don't you remind us of the In the Slot Buster for this week?
Yes. So for one last time, the In the Slot Buster cryptic clue is High School Musical causes me too much pain. So make sure you get your guesses in. We film at about 8 p.m. on a Wednesday, so get everything in before then.
Yeah, thanks, Connor. Yeah, do remember, follow us, subscribe, comment, all that jazz, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, everything like that. Thanks.